practical value of at least pretending to understand the rough parameters of the day-to-day crises of the average citizen was probably never clearer to anybody than it was on the afternoon of October 16, 1793, as they led Queen Marie Antoinette of France off to the guillotine. Some in the crowd doubtless repeated the couplet indelibly associated with her, "Your Royal Highness, the people have no bread." No bread? Well, let them eat cake. They, like most of us in the ensuing 215 years, had no idea that Marie not only never said that, but that the story about an unnamed French princess saying that was first told in 1766 when Marie was 11 years old and living in Vienna. And it didn't matter, it stuck to her anyway. Our third story on the countdown, when the price of gas might decide whether or not you get elected. Always know the price of gas. Asked the last time he had pumped his own gas, John McCain said he didn't remember, and it didn't matter because the Secret Service wouldn't let him, and the hundreds of town hall meetings in which he'd so effectively communicated with people took care of that. And what was the next question? It might very well have been the price shown in the McCain ad touching on the gas crisis. That's $4.90 for just under 2 gallons. Let's go there. But in the cake-eating department, there is the news of the campaign's latest acquisition, a Boeing 737, featuring more posh accommodations for VIP passengers and members of the media. More on that in a moment. Indeed, perhaps there's no need to worry, at least if McCain acts on the advice of neocon Bill Kristol, who suggests selecting Alaska's Governor Sarah Palin as a running mate.
Well, first, I think she would help him get elected, which would be a good thing if you want gas prices to come down. Then she'll persuade him that we have to drill in Anwar and have an aggressive drilling program across the board.
Chris Hayes, the Washington editor of The Nation magazine, joins us yet again. Good evening, Chris.
Hey, Keith.
I realize this is Bill Kristol, but the announcement of a VP choice could lower gas prices. I mean, if you made the old Esso Tiger your VP, that wouldn't lower gas prices. What is Sarah Palin, some sort of mass hypnotist or something?
Or, you know, why stop at the Esso Tiger? I mean, if it weren't constitutionally barred, we could go with Vladimir Putin or someone from the House of Saud or Hugo Chavez. I mean, you know, there's a lot of options out there. I mean, look, this is the point at which the gas price discussion has officially jumped the shark, right? You have this huge economic problem that's causing a lot of pain for a lot of Americans, and there's really very little that John McCain or Barack Obama can do about it. The difference is that Barack Obama does have some kind of holistic approach to the economy that might provide some relief for families in other areas, whether that's health care or in tax rebates, etc., and John McCain really doesn't. So he's got to fixate on the gas price.
McCain Chavez 08. I'm just contemplating that for a moment. There's two symbols in here. That energy commercial that has gas at $2.55 a gallon, and the other symbolism. If you're asked about pumping your own gas, is that not a softball? Can anybody out there not think that, you know, I don't get to go anymore because of security. I don't get to do this, but I know in some places it's nearly $5 a gallon, and that changing that is one of my top priorities. How does anybody miss that softball?
Well, I think missing softballs is part of kind of McCain's appeal, particularly to press, right? That he doesn't knock these softballs out of the park. And I actually think at a certain level he's right? It doesn't matter. I mean, this authenticity competition we have every 4 years about which president has, you know, is just the most ordinary and you want to have a beer with, it is transparently ludicrous. And I don't think that, you know, the fact that John McCain owns 7 or 8 homes or that he married into this monumentally wealthy family with all this inherited wealth is really relevant either way, or that he hasn't pumped gas. And, you know, I don't care if he's pumped gas in a year or 2 years or 5 years. What I care about is that he has some vision for an energy policy that isn't going to be so beholden to energy companies, isn't going to be so beholden to fossil fuels. And so, you know, at a certain level, there's this kind of this authenticity competition, but it's, of course, the Republicans and conservatives that have created it. So at the most immediate level, there's something kind of satisfying about them being hoisted by their own petard when it comes to these sort of trivial symbolisms.
If you could run cars on Budweiser, you'd have a better answer for it. I assure you of that. One question about this plane, and to be fair, Obama obviously charters a jet too, and I'm sure it's equally spacious and consumes equal amounts of jet fuel. But McCain in his has set up a special interview area, and his press guy actually said reporters have to earn their way into it. Now, how do you earn your way as a reporter into the special sanctified area of the John McCain flying straight talk kind of not straight talk express?
Well, there's a lot of competition for reporters sort of most cozy with John McCain at this point. I'm imagining his spokesperson was being tongue-in-cheek. At least let's hope. But, you know, as my colleague Eric Alderman chronicled in The Nation just a week ago, I mean, there's a long-running kind of love affair, mutual love affair between the press and John McCain. Now, part of that is the fact that John McCain has had, and particularly in 2000, had this sort of policy of these long conversations, and you could ask him anything you want, and access to candidates is this very sort of restricted commodity. party. At the same time, I think that, you know, it's 8 years different, and 8 years have passed, and he's a very different candidate than he was then. And while the American people and voters and everyone else in the political establishment seems to be waking up to that fact, it's sort of like the press is the last to notice at this point.
Well, I don't know. He just actually said that Wesley Clark should be cut loose by Obama, so I don't know what's tongue-in-cheek anymore and what's just silly. Chris Hayes, the Washington editor of The Nation, thank you as always, sir.
Thank you, Keith.